The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his apostles, "Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Whoever receives you receives me, and whoever receives me receives the one who sent me. Whoever receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And whoever receives a righteous man because he is a righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward. And whoever gives only a cup of cold water to one of these little ones to drink, because the little one is a disciple, amen, I say to you, he will surely not lose his reward." The Gospel of the Lord. I'm blessed to come from a very tight-knit family and to have strong relationships with my parents and my three sisters and their families. My mom and dad in particular have been important figures in my life and wonderful models of faith for all of us. They taught us the importance of prayer and instilled in us the importance of serving those around us, especially those most in need. My realization of God's love and my vocation to the priesthood and to Holy Cross have been mediated through my family, and they continue to support me in my vocation. That's why the gospel that we hear today makes me just a little bit uncomfortable. Remember that as this passage begins, Jesus had just finished telling his disciples that he came to bring the sword and not peace, to set a man against his father and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. In today's gospel, Jesus continues with the warning that whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. These words might seem a bit strange and challenging to all of you as well. But my friends, today's gospel is not about pitting Jesus against those you're closest to in your family. And it's not intended to induce anxiety or competition over who you love more. God's love is not a zero-sum game. Today's gospel is at its heart about the demands of discipleship. It's about a path to which we are all called as followers of Jesus Christ. A path that frankly is not easy. A path that will always cost us something and may even cost us everything. Jesus is telling his disciples in painfully honest words that following him necessitates a choice. To be confronted with Jesus is to be confronted with the choice of whether to accept him or to reject him. And if we truly accept him, those who have rejected him, even those closest to us, may well reject us too. There are times in our life when following Jesus Christ means putting him above all else and above all other worldly ties and relationships that might get in the way of following him. Today, Jesus reminds us that to be a disciple is to take up our cross and to follow him, no matter what the price. And yet our readings today are not just about what Jesus demands of his disciples. They're also about what will be given to them as well. Jesus reminds us that his is a path of life, and in following after him, we too are invited to receive new life in him. And in this new life, he does not abolish the family or our relationships or ties. He enlarges them. He gives us that which human beings so often strive for, but cannot fully attain on our own: true unity, true communion with one another. Such communion with those around us is something we know that we deeply desire. Clear signs of this desire have been especially evident lately as we confront the twin crises of a global health pandemic and the realities of systemic racial injustice. Even amidst these upheavals in our world, we've seen many genuine and moving efforts at fostering a sense of common connection, support, and solidarity with our fellow human beings. One very simple example I might offer is the popular show Some Good News that was created as we entered into lockdown, and which attempted to simply highlight the good things continuing to happen among families and communities in the midst of the global health crisis. I think the general popularity of the show points to a deeper desire in our society for that which can unite and lift us up, a small attempt to bring a little light into the darkness that all of us are experiencing. What Jesus reminds us of today, though, is that it's in God, who is the first source and ultimate end of all that is good and true and beautiful, that we encounter the true means and the fullness of our unity with one another. Our Holy Father, Pope Francis, spoke to this reality when he said that faith in Jesus Christ reveals just how firm the bonds between people can be when God is present in their midst. It sheds light on every human relationship because it is born of love and reflects God's own love. The light of faith is capable of enhancing the richness of human relations, their ability to endure, to be trustworthy, to enrich our life together. Faith in the words of our Holy Father makes us truly appreciate the architecture of human relationships because it grasps that their ultimate foundation and definitive destiny is in God and in His love. Letting ourselves be caught up and guided by this love enlarges the horizons of human existence. And my friends, we're reminded today that it's in Jesus that we find the path to this new life. Jesus, who's truly become for us the way and the truth and the life. The way by his example, the truth by his teaching, and the life by his sacraments. As I said, my friends, following Jesus is no easy path. His words to his disciples make clear that great sacrifice will be required of us. The prospect of losing our friends, our brothers and sisters, our parents, and even our life can be quite intimidating. We might feel paralyzed in the face of such overwhelming demands. But as with any great virtue, or any significant project or long journey, it begins with just a small step. If we want to build any kind of habit or virtue in our life, we start with implementing small practices into our daily life. If we want to be able to run a marathon, we have to start by running a mile or two each day. If we want to be a more truthful person, we can begin by practicing honesty in small ways, in our daily interactions and our conversations. And if we want to be a true disciple, one who's willing to pick up my cross and follow him, the first step is as small and seemingly insignificant as a single cup of water. This is the example that Jesus provides to his followers and reminds us of today. Because even in just giving one cup of water to a disciple, we have begun the work of becoming true disciples ourselves. And it's through such daily small acts of love, small yeses to God, that we develop in ourselves the habit of discipleship, so that when greater demands are one day required of us, we will be ready to respond courageously. And we will be able to do so like the apostles, who rejoiced in their being able to suffer for the sake of the gospel. The good news is that God has given us everything we need. He's given us the example of countless men and women who've done this heroically, saints whose lives are held up to us by the church. And if it's not enough for God to give us this cloud of witnesses, and companions for our journey, let us not forget that God has also given us himself. Because yes, he calls us to a path that's demanding and one which will require great sacrifice. As St. Paul reminds us in our second reading, we were indeed buried with him through baptism into death. But we were also baptized into his resurrection and his life. If we have died with Christ, we will also truly live with him. Being a follower of Jesus Christ does not mean we will not face difficulties in this life. And it does not grant us an excuse to ignore the problems of our times. But it does allow us to confront these with hope. We know that there will be dying to do on the way to the Father. But if we've died with Christ, then we know that we will also live with him. My friends, it's our faith in Jesus Christ which gives us a firm hope that we know will not disappoint. As Pope Francis has reminded us, faith is no refuge for the faint-hearted, but something which enhances our lives. It makes us aware of a magnificent calling, the vocation of love. It assures us that this love is trustworthy and worth embracing, for it is based on God's faithfulness, which is stronger than our every weakness. Grounded in this truth, let us take up our crosses and follow him.